am I gonna get lots of hate for this video? Oh. Today we are going to talk about the good and bad signs in a driving instructor. First of all, when you're doing your driving lessons, do not settle for just anyone. Go off a recommendation if you can. If not, if you're not happy with your instructor, can you please get another one? And if any of these things resonate, like when we go over the bad things, if the bad things resonate, I really want you to drop them like a fly, get another one. Because, you know, you're paying for a service, and if they're not doing what they're expected to do, you should get that service. So, who's ready? Let's start off with the good qualities. When you first meet your driving instructor, they should be professional. Your instructor should introduce themselves, ask you what would you like to be called. They should make you feel comfortable. Now, the amount of stories that I've heard with other students is insane. When I say they should make you feel comfortable, they should not draw the line. There is a line, literally, physically in the car that you just do not cross, unless, like, the instructor needs to touch the wheel. It's not always the case where they have the time to tell you, I'm going to touch the steering wheel now to keep us safe. It doesn't work like that. But they should tell you the only time is when I need to touch the wheel. Other than that, they should not be in your space. That's your space, okay? Your instructor should be nice to you. It's not just in the beginning. Don't be a fly in the trap, and I'm going to tell you what that means, okay? Don't be a fool, don't be a mug. If you are doing your driving lessons and your examiner is super nice to you, don't be a fly, because they might be really nice to you just so you purchase a bulk. And I've heard a lot of stories where it doesn't work out, they want a refund, and all of a sudden they ain't got the money to have a refund. Red flag. And I would say to anyone, even I say this to my students, let's do one lesson, let's see if you like me, let's see if you like the way that I teach, let's see if we get on, if you're happy with me, then we can book another, then book as many lessons as you want. That's up to you, it's got nothing to do with me. Your instructor should not be telling you how to spend your money. That is down to you. So please put your foot down, be in charge. I am mixing this up, isn't it? It's like, here's good, here's bad. I'm gonna stick to good now. So your instructor should be checking your provisional license. So you need to, legally, you need to bring your provisional license to every single lesson. Not many people know this, but you can get points on your provisional, which carry on to your full license. The instructor will send you a link. All you need is your provisional license number, your national insurance number, and then you generate a check code, which you then pass on to your instructor, and then they check if you have any points on your license. If you have points on your license, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about, why do you have points on your license? What the hell have you been doing? Your instructor should be on the ball with getting you booked in. There should be communication back and forth. If you don't hear from your instructor, can I just say that it is a very busy time. Like, COVID has not helped at all. It's caused a massive backlog. The demand is high. It's quite stressful being an instructor at the moment. Like, it's already a stressful job as is. So please be patient with us. We are trying our best. But if you do not hear any communication, red flag, follow up with us, but red flag. Please don't call. I know you think that calling is the best thing because you have an immediate answer, but guess where we're going to be most of the time? But we'll get to signs of a bad instructor soon. Another good thing is goal setting. Your lessons should be structured. It should be structured and planned. So this kind of goes into goal setting and lesson planning, but your examiner, I'm tired. Your instructor should be planning the lesson. So after every single lesson, you should be told what you're going to be doing next lesson. And you're at the beginning of the lesson, the instructor should ask you or should tell you, this is a lesson plan for today. Like, for example, today in my lesson, I had Eldine, and we were doing left hands, recapping left hands, pulling up on the left, introduction to right hands. He's never done right hands before. And I said to him, after knowing the lesson plan for today, what would you like to achieve? What's your goals for today's lesson? I think it's really important to have some sort of goal. And you get these students, this is like, I don't know how to feel about these students, because there's no drive, pun intended. Like, some people are like, oh, I'm not that bothered. Why? Why are you not bothered? You should be bothered. Some people just don't feel like they should be working towards a goal. I don't know, maybe it's the Capricorn in me that's like, no, you need a goal. You need to aim for something. We're going to accomplish something by today. But I ask my students, what would you like to achieve? What's your goals for today? If they don't know, or they don't want to give me a goal, I'm going to set a goal. So today we are going to make sure that you've attempted right turns and be almost independent. So not setting the bar too high, achievable. Make sure they're achievable. This is what we're doing today. What would you like to achieve? You can't set a goal if it's not within the lesson. You can't say, oh, I like to do roundabouts. We're not doing that. We're doing right turns. Measurable. It needs to be measurable. So if you can't measure it, how do you know you're learning? How do you know you're working towards being test ready? For me, I need some physical evidence. If you're doing lessons and you don't even know where you are, there's no sort of like checklist or anything. It needs to be in writing. I say have it in writing where you can see the amount of progress that you're making. Now, in my lessons, I have a whole checklist of areas that we cover and different stages. So you can go from introduced to prompt to partially prompt to independent to test ready. And you need to track your progress. There's no point learning something and you have no idea where you stand. If you don't have a checklist, which is already a bad sign, then maybe write down what you learned that lesson, what you achieved that lesson, and at least then you can make your own progress chart, progress sheet. Write it all down, or do it on your notes. You know, I'm millennial. I like to write notes. I've always got a pen in my hand, but some people like to write on their iPads. I don't know. A good instructor identifies the root cause of a mistake. Meaning, let's say for example, you are stopping way before the giveaway line. The problem might not be that the student isn't looking. It could be something else. It could actually be, and this is going to be so technical and so, but you'll see. It could be the placement of the student's foot on the pedal. I'll explain to you, it will make sense. If, for example, you're pressing on the brake with the whole of your foot, that's going to be lots of brake at one time. If you place the tips of your toes on half of the pedal, it's less pressure, it's more gradual, and that could be the solution of it. Order for your instructor to find a solution. They need to ask you why you're doing this and look at you. It's part of their job. If they're not looking at you, how are they going to know what you're doing wrong? Or the instructor might think that they know what the problem is, but actually it could always be something else. It could always be because of something else. So they need to find the real root cause of it. Risk assessing is the next one. Risk assessing. Let's say, for example, I had a student who said, oh, I've had lots of lessons before and I'm test ready. This is a new person, keep in mind. I'm not gonna let him drive my car in the middle of the road straight away. No, you're gonna start off somewhere quieter. We're gonna build our way up. Don't be offended if your instructor does this, because one, you haven't driven their car, and every car has a different biting point. Every car works differently. Every car, pedal sensitivity is going to be different. So you need to kind of suss out the car and get used to it. Secondly, it's all to do, how do you know that this person's had that many lessons? What if they're lying? Or what if in their head they've had so many, but you know, they haven't actually? What if anyone could be lying? And I'm not one that has trust issues, but you need to be realistic. You don't know this person. You need to actually physically see it yourself. And risk assessment can also be based on, let's say for example, you are very nervous with driving on busier roads. I wouldn't just put you straight on the busy roads. No. Do you know what's going to happen? You're going to freak out. You're going to end up stalling 1,000 times because mentally you're not ready there yet. So risk assessing is definitely individual, definitely client-centered learning. What is client-centered learning? You watch my video and you'll find out. Client-centered learning is when you treat every person as an individual. So one person might be fine with other cars being very busy, other cars being around. And some people might be very anxious, making more mistakes, so you treat that person as they are. Your instructor should be putting you into a location that suits your progress. I'm going to explain. If you're doing your left and right turns and you're just starting off, you'll be starting off in a baby training area. When you're getting better at that, you can then go on the outer areas, which is more busier, but you should not be thrown in the deep end. That is going to freak you out. So another sign of a good instructor is that they explain things to you. You actually understand what you're doing. There's no point doing something that you don't understand why. So it's not learnt, it's just do this. It's just being told, and that's not sustainable. The end goal is not you passing your test. The end goal is you being able to drive by yourself, no one next to you, safely. If you're always getting told what to do all the time, that's not learn. Teach a man how to fish. Teach a man how to fish. Client-centered learning. Another good sign of an instructor is that they're teaching you based on how you are, your style of learning, your any like learning difficulties that you might have. Maybe you are anxious with driving around other people, so they need to take all of that in consideration because everyone is different. A good driving instructor is calm. And I feel like I don't want to go into too much depth because this is actually written on my bad instructor page. But you should feel comfortable around your instructor. You should feel calm. You should feel like you can talk to this person when something goes wrong. You can bring things up with them. You can say what's on your mind. They're reassuring. They want you to pass. They're not going to feed you lies. They're not going to say you're not test ready yet if you're test ready. Like, who does that, honestly? Just, you want to get rid of your students in it, so just pass them. They should be going. Asking why is my last one. A good instructor will ask, why did you do that? Not a, why did you do that? But more of a, what happened? Talk me through it. What's going on? Why did you go even though you knew it wasn't your priority? Why did you do that? What happened? They might say, oh, I thought I had time. Or they could, or maybe they could say, I didn't know we had priority. Now, I thought we had time. I didn't know it wasn't our priority. There's two different solutions to each problem. Your instructor cannot fix something if they don't know what the problem is. It is a lot easier for them to ask you, why did you do that? To get inside your head. The only way for me to pull information, or your instructor, to pull information outside of your head is to ask you, why did you do that? And they can just tell you. Now they know what the issue is, they can then fix it. Who's ready for the bad signs? I just don't agree with it. I strongly don't agree with it. So a bad sign of your instructor is if he gets, generalizing, they get annoyed, angry, irritated, stressed. I mean, it's a stressful job, but all the above. They should not be getting angry. No, they signed up to this job. They decided to be a driving instructor. Yes, it's stressful, it's not easy sometimes, but you decided to have this job. Just like a chef. Being a chef is stressful, being a doctor is stressful, but you signed up to it. It's not fair for you to be angry or lashing out. That's not right. Like, you chose to do this job, so pucker up and just do it. I personally have an issue with people getting angry when it's their job. They should be teaching you. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, maybe some people need tough love, and if that's for you, if that's your thing, cool, fine. Get yelled at, that's cool. But most people find driving difficult. You're learning a new life skill. It is going to be hard. It's going to take some time. They're going to be your coach for quite some time, and you need someone who's calm. You don't want to be dreading going to your lesson. You want to be excited. You want to have fun. You want to like be relaxed. You want to be calm. You want to be taking in information, not like, I'm scared, can't talk to that person. What a life to live. But you chose that, so go get another instructor. Next thing, you're paying someone to teach you. If they do not teach you, why are you paying them? You're paying them for a service. You should get that service. Not only should you be, like we said about the good signs, like measurable, you need to be setting goals, you need to have a plan, it needs to be structured. So this is what I want to say to you. If any of these bad signs resonate with you, there is no shortage of driving instructors. It might be hard to get hold of one, but there is no shortage. You best go out and get another one, because this is not, it's not serving you. If you don't feel comfortable with your instructor, red flag. You should feel comfortable. If that person is making you feel uncomfortable, and we'll talk about the different types, guess what? Go get a different instructor. There's different types of comfortability. You should feel like the car is a safe zone. You should feel like it's a judgment-free zone. This is a safe place for you to express however you feel. And I know it's not just driving. Like, there's so much to it than just driving. It's how that person is feeling. If you can't express yourself to your instructor because you feel like you're going to get in trouble, or you can't say anything, or your instructor is going to get annoyed, how is learning going to take place? Learning is not going to take place. The more comfortable you feel, the more relaxed you are, the more you're going to retract information and actually put it into actions. If you're stressed out, think about the efficiency here. Come on. If you're stressed out, you're not going to take in and learn anything, are you? Because you're probably more concerned about how this person's talking to you. Boundaries. Every new lesson I've ever had in the past, because I used to do this, I used to say to my students that this is my side and this is your side. If you imagine a line running from the bonnet to the handbrake, everything on your side, that's you. Everything on my side is my side. I'm going to stay on my side. Unless I need to touch the steering wheel or move it, I'm sorry, I won't be able to say to you or give you a warning every single time. But that's the only reason I'll be going on your side. Other than that, your space, my space. Now, the stories I've heard, damn, boundaries being pushed. Conversations, inappropriate conversations. I mean, if that's your thing, if this is the reason that you go to your driving lessons, it's your business. But if you want to have the best, if you want to have a professional lesson, keep in mind you're paying for this service. You want to get what you're paying for. At the end of the day, you want to drive. Well, it's going to take you longer. You're going to pass your test, but if you're distracted, it's going to take you longer. And please, if you feel uncomfortable, if someone has pushed boundaries, if your instructor is talking about inappropriate things, please find someone else. If you feel uncomfortable, have the courage. This is your sign. Have the courage, and please, please, please find someone else, because it's not worth it in the long run. If you think about it realistically, you're probably never going to see that person again. They might have your number, but you can block them. Just block them. Block them. Block. I've heard stories from my students where they've gone on coffee dates for their first lesson. And I'm like, are you joking? You're paying someone to go, you're paying more than you normally would at a coffee shop. Why? To talk about driving. At least be in the car. I mean, it's ridiculous, to be honest. I don't know what to say to you. You're not paying for coffee dates. You're not paying for your time being wasted. I always talk about money because I know that most of you guys are students or you're young, and it's harder for you to be paying for it. And money is such a valuable thing because you bloody work your ass off for it, let's be honest. And I can relate back to, well, when I got my first job, it was literally just to do my lessons because I was like, oh, I can't wait to drive. Like, it's such an exciting thing. So this is why I always talk about money. This is why I don't want you to be wasting your time and wasting your efforts and wasting your money on someone who's not even going to get you to pass. Some dodgy people out there. Anyways, be realistic with your driving. And that's the thing, you kind of have to find the balance between what is realistic and what is taking the because some instructors might delay you for no reason, and unfortunately you don't have much control over that unless you go elsewhere, and that could be the same thing as well. So a bad sign of an instructor is not correcting your mistakes. I don't know how this one is possible, to be honest with you. Like, I've had students who actually told me that all these mistakes that they were making, the instructor just wouldn't correct them, or will just wait until the end of the lesson to say, oh, by the way, this is what you was doing wrong today. Why didn't you tell me that earlier? Why didn't you, why was that not told in the lesson? So it would be a lesson, because that's what a definition is. You need to find out where you're going wrong and learn from it, not be told at the end, so you have to do another lesson and work on your mistakes. Beyond me. Using you for errands. I don't agree with this one. Like, has your instructor ever asked you to pick up a friend, to drop a friend, to go to the post office, to basically run their errands? Yeah. Now, why I think it's a bad thing is because, one, you might not be at that stage of driving there and back. You learn in a certain order, you learn in a certain way. You can't just jump straight to roundabouts, because that might not be the best thing. Pushing you in the deep end when you can barely walk, you can't run. So if they're making you do errands, is your learning actually effective? I've heard stories where people are out on the motorway because the instructor said, let's go shopping. Okay, so next bad sign is not asking you how you feel, especially when you're progressing at something or doing something that's new, okay? I think it's really important to be asked, how do you feel now that we're driving on busy roads? Or how do you feel at driving at 40? Do you feel like, you can keep up? How's your reaction time? How are you feeling? A little bit stressed? Are you good? I think just knowing more about what's happening inside your head is useful. It's not just a nice thing, it's client-centered learning. It's learning more about that person. So I think it's important for your instructor to be asking you how you feel every so often. Just kind of know what you struggle with as well. Like maybe you could be feeling that your roundabouts, you get really anxious with the roundabouts, or tight spaces makes you feel really claustrophobic and or panicked, anxious. And then they'll know from that about how you feel to do more of meeting traffic. Because when I say meeting traffic, what I mean is parked cars either side, and there's not enough room for both cars to pass by. So you need to figure out who has priority and who's going to go first, and where you're going to stop and which gap to take. That's meeting traffic. And then your instructor will know, okay, you don't feel that confident, let's do more of it. Not implementing mindset. This one might be a very biased one. I actually got an email a few weeks back from DVLA, and they were saying how one of the main reasons that people fail is because of mindset is not implemented. Here's to this channel, yay. If your instructor does not implement mindset, then I mean, you still get to learn, it's just going to be harder, isn't it? Like, you'll still learn how to drive, but it might take you longer. I think mindset has got such a big part to play, hence why we're doing this channel. I say we, it's a one-man band here, it's me. Another bad sign, and this one can be argued. If your instructor cancels all the time, now, sometimes it's not our fault, can I just? Sometimes there's accidents, sometimes tires get nails in them, punctured tires, oil light comes on. There's so many things, like there's just so many things. But if it's questionable, then, and imagine your one instructor has so many students, yeah? So if they're doing it to you all the time, maybe they don't like you. I'm just gonna put it out there. Maybe they just don't like you, they're trying to get rid of you. Or maybe it's because they do it all the time. So, I mean, everyone gets ill, and there's things that can happen. I'm not saying it's a bad sign, because things do happen. You can be stuck in traffic for a very long time, there could be an accident, and now you've run into the lesson, and unfortunately your lesson needs to be moved. And yeah, so things do happen. But if it's all the time, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Like, I don't trust that anymore. I hear this quite often, when your instructor uses the pedals all the time, and doesn't even explain to you why. That's the hardest part. That's the heartbreaking part of it all, isn't it? That first of all, they use the pedals. If someone used the pedals and I was learning how to drive, I'd be like, what are you doing? Sorry, but what are you doing? Like, why are you using the pedals? If your instructor decides to use the pedals and doesn't tell you why, ask them. Ask them, because they're not doing their job. Like, they should be telling you why they're using their pedals. I had this student, like I normally do. She was telling me that, oh, I love her so much though, like I'm really happy that she passed. She was telling me that her previous instructor would always be on the pedals, and her instructor kind of made her do a driving test during COVID, even though they both knew that she wasn't ready. Who does that? That's another sign. Red flag, get rid of them. So she'd done the test, and she didn't know how to do hill starts because her old instructor was always on the pedals all the time. So when she first came to me, we done hill starts. So we just drilled hill starts, and there's so many hills in Horsforth. You know that big one in Tinchill? I don't know how to say it. I'm not from Leeds. It's a really big one next to the station. That's the mother of all hills. If you can do that one, you can do any hill. obviously she passed first time with me, and I just don't understand the logic behind it, because what's she gonna do after she passed her test? What is she gonna do after her driving test? Like, she kind of has to drive by herself. Isn't that the end goal? How's she gonna do a hill? She lives in Horsforth. Like, doesn't make sense. It's almost entertaining. Like, the stories that I have are actually so entertaining, but come on, like, you can't settle for your instructor, please. If any of what I've said to you already, please be on Google right now looking for a new instructor, please. Does your instructor smell? Like, I hope my students tell me if my breath stinks, because I've been drinking a lot of coffee lately. But as I ask my students to be hygienic, it's actually my terms and conditions that you wash your hands before every lesson. I know I can't control what other people do, but there's lots of different people who use the car. I can't expect other students to be clean and hygienic if I'm not that myself. If your instructor stinks or they're not clean, first of all, disgusting. That is disgusting. And I wouldn't say, see, that's the thing, like, maybe they're not a bad teacher, but they just stink. Can you really sit in the car with them for your lesson? I want to hear stories. Has anyone braved it and just said, do you want a breath mint? Or like, has anyone ever confronted their instructor that stinks? I want to know. I really want to know. Please tell me. I want to hear some more stories. I love story time. Does your instructor use their phone? They should not be using their phone. They should not be answering any phone calls, be on their phone while you're driving. No. Like, I know that, like, myself and other instructors need maybe sat nav, but they should be pulling up. You should not be moving the car. The handbrake should be on. Oh my God, that is so disrespectful. What if you're driving and you need help and they're on the phone? No, no, no. They should not be on the phone, which is why I would say always text your instructor, because they should not be answering calls. And if they're a good instructor, they wouldn't be answering calls during your lesson time, because that's lesson time, that's teaching time, that's not play. We don't play, we teach, we work. Over instructing, it could be a bad thing if it's excessive, but over instructing, if you are independent on something, you don't need any help with it. So your instructor should not be telling you or giving you any help. It should be you doing it by yourself. Sometimes you can get instructors that over instruct. I think if anything, it's mostly very annoying, because you know what to do anyway, so they're just wasting their breath. Yeah, it can be a bad thing, because it means that your instructor is not paying attention to you, not really knowing what you know, and not helping you where they should. They should only be giving you help where you need it. If you know what to do, you shouldn't be told what to do. You should be taking the lead, because your driving should be independent, so that after you pass your driving test, you can drive without being told. End goal. That's the end goal. This is a common one, and I want to know who has been through this one. I really want to know this one. Has your instructor told you the show me, tell me questions last minute? Many instructors do this. I don't know why, because it doesn't help. Like, imagine trying to memorize something in 1 hour because you have your test soon, or 1 day. I really want to know how many instructors have done this, because it's not fair on you as a student. You've had so many lessons together. They could have brought it up earlier, but for whatever reason, they're telling you last minute. How is that fair? That's not fair. If you can relate, let me know. Let me know how your lessons are going. Let me know what you're struggling with. And any more tips, you can follow my Instagram, my TikTok. And I've got my other videos as well on YouTube. You can watch them. How many red flags can you count up with your instructor. And if it's more than, I don't know, you know, because if it's anger, write them off. But if it's more than, I don't know, 2, no, don't even settle. If it's 1, get a new instructor. If it's 1 flag, if you can put up with it, if it doesn't bother you, it just depends on the person, isn't it? But if they're a good instructor, I want to hit all the boxes. I want to know what makes your instructor a good instructor. It's not just about the bad ones. Let's big up the very good instructors. Let's big up those who definitely teach, who enjoy their job, who you have fun with. It's, yeah, although you're learning, you can still have fun. And let me know in the comments. I really want to hear it. I really want to hear your stories. And if you've ever been on a coffee date, let me know, because I need to find out who these people are that think they can get away with going on a coffee date. Who does this? Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you want to see. Have a good next driving lesson. I'll see you in the next one.